Hello people, I have the iPhone 14 Pro for about 2 weeks now, so I have decided it's high time to make a longer period video after 2 weeks of usage of the iPhone 14 Pro to tell you what to expect, what not to expect, what you will get and what you won't get, what I liked and what I didn't like that much in the iPhone 14 Pro. Given that on some markets you still need to order it and then wait for the delivery in order to get your phone, maybe that's another useful perspective for you to decide whether iPhone 14 Pro is good, needed, sufficient update for you upgrade from your current device to the newest product of Apple. So let's make a start. Let's start with the dynamic island. 14 Pro of course is on the right. What I have on the left is iPhone X or iPhone 10. So the notch that we know since iPhone 10, this thing here at the top, is now the dynamic island as Apple calls it. Here, now depends on the lighting, hopefully you will see it's the front camera and it's also all the sensors on the front. They are moved down to here. Apple decided and are trying to turn the defect into an effect. So, how it worked? The dynamic island is a bit more intrusive than the traditional notch in my opinion, especially if you are watching a video on YouTube or something. It is a bit more aggressive, a bit more intrusive into your user experience. But it is also a useful feature on your phone. You can use it as a quick way to switch between your apps. For example, if you make a timer, you can press and hold to see details of it, then you can stop it. Or if you play something from Spotify, again, you can press and hold and quickly switch through the songs, play and pause and so on while you are still using your phone as usual. So it has pros and cons. One of the issues with the dynamic island I have noticed is this thing that's ways up, the navigation app. Maybe some of you use it or maybe you've never heard of it. Anyways, the dynamic island kind of hides the maximum speed limit here on the left. Of course, you may say it's easy to fix by turning your phone the other side. Here is the challenge. The cameras are quite big, so it depends on the specificities on your phone holder for your car, how you put your device and if you can put it the other way around. Anyways, even if you put it that way and you decide that it's fixed, the issue is fixed, no, it is not. If you use your phone and ways to stream music on your car, for example by playing Spotify, the icon is here, it's kind of hidden behind the dynamic island. Even if you are able to tap it somehow, as I did, the interface is broken, you cannot use it. It doesn't show the controls here and actually it hides automatically and doesn't work at all. So either that way or that way, the dynamic island causes some issues. Now let's move on to the camera. When we talk about cameras, there are two types of users. The first one are just the point and shoot, as the good old days of the little tiny digital cameras, point and shoot, and you get your photo working the best with the best settings, colors, saturation, focus and so on. So you can directly download it and share it. The other group of users, including me, are the ones who take the photo and then the actual work starts. You should edit, you should post-process your photo and make it so that it conveys the message you want to convey with your photo. It tells the story you want to tell with your video or with your photo and so on. So it's not point and shoot, that's just the start of the process and I'm part of that group. Now, finally Apple added the Apple ProRAW format for photo here. That's the RAW format which is well known by photographers. Apple calls it Apple ProRAW. So, if you enable it now, finally, that's a major upgrade from the usual main 12 megapixels camera towards up to 48 megapixels. Beware that these photos are pretty big in terms of size. 75 megabytes for a 48 megapixel ProRAW photo or 25 megabytes for 12 megapixels photo. And even after you take such a photo, such a pic, you need to edit it. The RAW format compared to JPEG, for example, preserves much more detail of your photo compared to JPEG. That's why the size is so much bigger, and that's why it needs editing to get to squeeze the most out of your photo. If you don't want to edit it for any reason, you still need to convert it to JPEG most often. You can use Adobe Lightroom, which I use, or any other app you prefer. As a cons here, as something Apple should have thought about, is the lack of a stock included Apple application which helps you quickly convert a RAW photo into JPEG or another popular compatible photo format. Now, I have mentioned the bigger, larger size of the RAW photos, so we come to the topic of storage. It's always a controversial topic when we come to Apple devices. This iPhone 14 Pro is the 128GB version. That's the smallest one for the Pro model. iPhone 14 starts from 64GB. iPhone 14 Pro starts from 128 up to 1TB. Now, of course, it always depends how you use your phone, what you do with it, what you store on it. I use my phone for all sorts of applications. Also, I record my YouTube videos with my phone. The same topic is valid for the Apple iPad Air 5, for example, the latest iPad from Apple. That's the 64GB one. If you watch different videos, different YouTubers, influencers, and gods of Apple devices, they would have told you that it doesn't worth to get the 64GB iPad Air 5. You should go for the bigger, higher amounts of storage. Then they will say that actually you are better off purchasing the iPad Pro for a couple of $100 more. Of course, it doesn't make sense in general. Everything depends on your own personal use of your device. So don't listen to such reviews, don't listen to such comments. 64GB is sufficient for myself and for whatever I use my tablet for. 128GB are sufficient for an iPhone. My previous iPhone 11 that I record this video with is with 128 gigs of storage as well. Of course, if you are purchasing an Apple device, most likely you don't want to change it in the next 1 or 2 or even 3 or more years. So think well about what you need, because you don't have a memory extension slot here for a memory card. So whatever you get, that's what you are stuck with. So if you think you need more storage, go for it. The next thing I'd like to comment on here is the portrait mode. So finally, you can use the portrait mode with zoom. So it's the normal portrait mode, looks like this. Then you can zoom in and still use your portrait mode like this. And you can even utilize the 3x zoom and make it work like this. Okay, when I mentioned the zoom, the important innovation here is that now the zoom of iPhone 14 Pro up to 3x is optical, not digital. What it means is that it's just mechanical movement of the lens of the camera, so it's not digital zoom, it's not just cropping the image and enlarging it digitally. It keeps the same quality, and you can zoom in up to 3x and you can zoom out up to 0.5 as well as an optical zoom. After that, the digital zoom kicks in, and that's the result you can get. Okay? We move on with the cinematic mode for the video. Think of it as a portrait mode for video. So if you come from another newer device, newer model of iPhone 12 or 13, it's not something new for you. But I came from iPhone 11, and that's something much needed, something I was looking forward to, especially for my YouTube videos. So think of it as a portrait mode, but for videos. It works both with the front and with the rear camera. For example, you can switch between the focus here, between my phone, between my face. It works really smoothly, it works really nice, and that's one of my favorite new features of the iPhone 14 Pro. Another thing I'd like to mention about the screen of iPhone 14 Pro is that it's OLED. OLED screen is what we've seen on iPhone X, iPhone 10, the one on my right hand, and which is pretty much available in all newer models of iPhone except for iPhone 11. OLED screen pretty much means that each pixel has its own option to be lit up in a specific color. while in LCD or LED panels, for example on the iPhone 11 or earlier models, the whole screen should be lit up, including the black cover. On OLED screen, the black cover is pretty much pixels which are switched off, which are not lit up. This leads to more depth in the picture, more detail, more comfortable view and more realistic view. Of course, that's not something I can explain in words, you should see it on your own. The other thing is the maximum brightness of iPhone 14 Pro on my left hand, up to 2000 nits. So that's iPhone 14 Pro, that's iPhone X, both are at the highest brightness, and you see the difference here with this random photo of a lemon. Of course, I'm comparing it with the X because both have the OLED screen. If I compare it with the LED screen of iPhone 11, it would be much better off, even compared to this one. Something I've noticed while you are talking on the phone on loudspeaker and you're doing something else on your phone together with that activity, together with that talk, iPhone 14 Pro gets hot or a bit warm much faster and much more compared to iPhone 11 doing the same thing. I don't know why. The screen is OLED, as I already told you, it has less energy consumption, it's more energy efficient, so this shouldn't lead to increased warm up of your phone, but that's the result, that's something I've noticed. And the last thing I would like to comment on regarding the screen is the always on option. That's again something which has two types of users. One type of users is the one of users who are looking forward to that feature, having the always on feature on an Apple device, on an iPhone device. Finally they have it and they love it. The other type of users, me included, are the ones who directly switched it off. So always on is this feature that keeps details, information and icons on your screen even when your phone is locked. When you navigate around, for example with Apple Maps, it also shows some detail of your map here on the screen when it's locked. However, there is no flexibility here at all. I mean, it's everything or nothing. It's all or nothing. You can't choose which one of the informations available you want to be on your screen. You get everything. That's why I don't see enough added value to have it on. On top of that, put that it will use 5 to 10% more of your battery, so it's sort of a battery drainer. Moving on to the size of the phone. It's maybe a little bit heavier than it should have been in the best case scenario. At the same time, it's more compact, especially compared to Android phones, where the competition is about who will make the biggest phone, who will make the best result between phone and tablet, actually a phablet. So it's really compact, nice, fits really well in my hand, but yeah, it's a bit heavier than I imagine it would be in the perfect world. Now we move on to the next topic, which is the battery life. As an Apple iPhone user, you know that the battery life is one of the most critical and one of the most dramatic topics, discussions around these type of products. Of course, like everyone else, I will also say that the battery life and how long and how often you need to charge your phone depends heavily on how you use it, for how long you use it, and what type of apps you use on your iPhone. To be more precise though, I will compare it to the battery life of my previous phone, which is the iPhone 11, the one I'm taking the video with. So, in a random, normal, general day, when I go to bed, I put my iPhone 11 to charge. The battery level at that point would be between 5 and 15%. Of course, I use my phone heavily throughout the day with all sorts of different applications, games and so on. Now, since I have the iPhone 14 Pro for about 2 weeks now, as I said at the beginning, I pretty much have the same daily routine, no change there. So, when I go to bed at the same approximate time, the battery level of the iPhone 14 Pro is about 20, 25 or 30%. So it's about at least 10 to 15% or even 20 on top of what the iPhone 11 would have provided me at that point. If I was not going to bed and I was somewhere out, I would have about 20 extra percent to use, 20 extra percent of battery life to use my phone to call a taxi or whatever, which I wouldn't be able to do with the iPhone 11. That's like my own experience with the battery life. With the same level of usage and the same period of day, the iPhone 14 Pro at the end of the day is with about 20% more battery remaining compared to my previous iPhone 11. So hope that was useful for you. And finally, the CPU in terms of processor, in terms of hardware. iPhone 14 Pro is the first device of a specific series which comes with a different CPU compared to the other models of the series. So, for example, iPhone 13 Pro had the same CPU, same processor with the same as iPhone 13. Here though, if you get the 14 Pro, you would get the newer, faster and better processor CPU than the normal iPhone 14. So keep that in mind. They come from the same series, they were released at the same time, but the iPhone Pro is already faster, better and more efficient. So that was it. Of course, like everything else related to devices, gadgets and so on, if iPhone 14 Pro would be a good choice for you, good logical next step for your upgrade, is up to you. It depends on your own specificities, on your own needs, what exactly you want to use your phone for. Anyways, if you have an iPhone 11 or even earlier, iPhone 14 Pro would be a major and very great upgrade for you. If you have a newer model, especially 12 Pro or 13 Pro, the 14 Pro wouldn't bring so much change in your life. But it's up to you. If you really want a new device, go for the 14 Pro. You wouldn't be sorry for that in any way. Thanks for watching, like the video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions, shoot them down in the comments. I'm looking forward to them and eventually to reply and help you if I can. Thanks again for watching and bye bye.